After a long hiatus, we are back with a post-race analysis of Brazil.
Yeah, welcome back everybody. Sorry we missed Mexico. We were some busy boys. We had a wedding, we had alcohol poisoning still from going to Austin. We had to recover pretty hard. So we took a week off and Mexico was cool, but I don't know. I think both Juan and I agree that Brazil was pretty freaking crazy and it
Yeah,
deserves a video on its own.
absolutely. I think it was, and I've said this every time, and I know you called me out on it. It's been my favorite race of the season so far.
Well, thankfully, I feel like the next few are going to be your favorite race so far, as long as the competition stays close.
Yeah.
But this has been a crazy season in terms of points and in terms of the championship. I mean, they are knockout, drag out slugfest of two very fancy British people trying to be nice to each other.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting how the whole kind of weekend was set up. So it was obviously a sprint race weekend. This is the last one of the 2021 season. And it was interesting seeing that uh, Mercedes slash Lewis Hamilton was disqualified after qualifying, and so he actually had to start from the back of the grid. And this was after they had announced that he was taking a new ice, so he was going to get a 5 grid penalty. So Lewis Hamilton went into the weekend with 25 plays grid penalty. Um, Fortunately or unfortunately, right, depending what side of the aisle you're on, that wasn't really an issue for Hamilton.
Yeah, he proved that they can pretty much replace the engine every race and still be top of the line. I mean, he pushed that engine to its limits, and whatever they did to it, whatever they set it up and prepared it, it was fast. It was pushing out some power. I
Yeah.
mean, its straight line speed was insane.
Yeah, so I actually had read that what they did was normal Mercedes engine for this season would last the reliability, the lifespan of it was going to be 7 races. What they did for this one is they kind of tuned it um, to basically only last like up to 5 races or 4 races. So they're running at 110% right now, and so they're dropping some reliability. And I think that's why they were doing all that stuff with Bottas. If you remember, he was always getting engine penalties.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were doing. They were trying to kind of map that and figure it out for Hamilton to use it in the championship.
I mean, at this point, I don't see the issue with them like every 2 races just putting in a new engine, taking the grid penalty, and having a crazy fast car. Because whatever they're pushing out right now and whatever they tuned it for is pushing out way more horsepower
Yeah.
than any car on the grid.
Yeah, it's just a rocket. Do you think the FIA would have a problem with that if they just decided to take those penalties, or do you think that's why that penalty is there to just uh, give the teams that decide to do that a bit of a disadvantage?
I think it's to slow down all the regular teams who make their engines last 6 to 8 races already because of costs. And they've tried to been the FIA has tried to been balancing like how much you can actually spend during the year to kind of prevent that. But Mercedes just has so much money.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously have money in reserve to build and buy new engines and new parts and stuff. And I don't see the FIA stopping them from doing it this year. Even
Yeah.
though, I mean, anything can happen with the FIA. It all comes down to money, though, and I think Mercedes and Verstappen fighting each other for first is making the FIA a lot of money, so they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, so Hamilton ended up finishing first. I think he ended up crawling up to 5th place during the sprint race, got that 5 grid penalty and started at 10th, and then just really just mowed down the field. Perez was able to get him a bit of a fight after Bottas had a really sloppy start, I would say. But I mean, after that, it was really just Lewis and Max fighting up until like I think like lap 40 something.
Yeah, lap 18 was when he overtook Perez. So I think it was lap 18 to lap 52 he was behind, but I mean he was so close
Yeah.
to Verstappen the whole race.
Yeah, it was really fun seeing how on the straight Lewis would just close whatever gap existed, but then when it would get to the windy bits, Verstappen was just flying up ahead, opening up the gap. But by the time they got to the straight, it was like restarting it.
Yeah, and these next few tracks have some pretty big DRS zones. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep up the pace. Because if you can, let's say you lose 3 seconds during half the track, but you gain it all back and more because your car is just so fast on the straight. You don't even have to have a perfect race. You just have to be within DRS zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Now.
other than that, he's in, insane. They say he drove like a possessed man. He did. He,
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody drive that well.
Man's hungry for a championship, I think.
Yeah, no, he proved why he's a world champion over and over again this
Yeah.
race.
I think there's zero doubt that, because I mean, someone brought this up. They were saying that, oh, well, it's because he has the fastest car ever. And especially now, right, with the upgrades, or not the upgrades, but the replacement that they did to it. But there's not a lot of drivers that can keep such a rocket on the track so consistently.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to a lot of him being extremely skilled. Even if everybody had a car equally as fast as him, he'd still be getting podiums.
Yeah.
Just you put, well, we'll talk about that in another video, but you put Russell in a car that fast, I don't think he's going to perform as well as Hamilton.
Yeah. What other highlights did you kind of notice of the race?
I mean, turn one was packed full of them. McLaren just destroying themselves. Norris making an incredibly stupid move, getting out onto the dirt, and then like kind of like snapping off the dirt, trying to get onto the track, where there was no room because they were already 3 wide, straight into signs. And Norris basically ruined. I mean, he got into the points, sure, but he basically ruined his race. Like if he just didn't go too crazy turn one, he definitely could have finished fifth, sixth, like after a solid race. It was just so stupid to watch him get a puncture that early.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like a smart, oh, that was crazy move. It's like he got off the line faster, sure. He got onto the dirt because there's no more room, and trying to snap back in, I don't know, did he not turn his head left? Was he just going too fast and his car slipped? I don't know. But from watching it, it just looks stupid. It just looked like such a bad move.
I think it shows how desperate McLaren is to just try to score points and try to get ahead of Ferrari in the fight for third. I don't know. I just like it's to me like they started off the season so strong, and these last few races for McLaren have just been total garbage. Ricardo in Mexico just kind of doing the same thing, just going way too fast with a car full of fuel and not being able to stop, crashing into Bottas. Like I don't see what they're thinking or what their train of thought is. It seems like it's like Norris and Daniel thinking for themselves versus thinking for the team.
Well, I mean, I get it when it comes down to, you want the best position because first turn, first lap is where you're going to get a lot of overtakes and a lot of positions up. But risking your whole race over it when you're so close in the Constructors' Championship is pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pulling themselves away so far that they have to have amazing results for the rest of the season to even keep up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're either going to see more of these reckless moves, or we're going to see them back off and just finish seventh, eighth for the rest of the season.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think it's done. I think there's two little races left, and Charles and Leclerc, or Charles and Leclerc.
Charles and Leclerc.
Sainz and Leclerc. They're just too consistent at this point. They're really good, and the Ferrari has a really good package. There's no way. I don't think there's any way that they're going to be able to catch up. I think there might be one or two circuits left that's going to suit McLaren really well, but I think it's a done deal. I think they're going to have to settle for fourth.
Yeah, mid-season, especially after Zandvoort, I was like, okay, Mercedes and Ferrari, they're getting pretty close. They're trading back and forth the whole season. But the recent 3 races have just been bad.
Yeah.
They just
for McLaren.
Yeah, for McLaren, they just performance-wise is terrible. Like quality of the races and quality of each drive they go out and do, it just hasn't been good. Their qualifying hasn't been great. Their lap times are lacking, and when they even get a decent spot, like middle of the pack in the points, they find a way for one of their drivers to get messed up.
Yeah.
Or, in DNF, one of your drivers, which completely pushes you out of constructors' chances.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Ricardo, I don't know what happened to him, but he ended up DNFing for Brazil, didn't he?
Yep. I don't remember what either, because while I was watching the race, I just saw him pop up that he
DNF.
was out of the race, and I was like, okay, well, they were showing, Verstappen and Hamilton the whole race.
Yeah. Speaking of DNF, Stroll got DNF'd. He got Sonota'd by Yuki.
He got Sonoda. Yeah, Yuki made a pretty, and I mean, I don't know. He got a 10-second penalty for it, and I guess people say like, oh, that was such a bad move. It's like, yeah, he took the inside when there wasn't enough room, and he was pretty far behind to make that dive. He got in the way of the racing line of the fuck, what team is
Aston
that?
Martin.
Aston. I was like, it's not Alfa Romeo, it's the green guys.
Mm-hmm.
Aston Martin. Yeah, he got in the way. It was a bad move. People say Sonoda makes too many reckless moves, but in reality, he's a rookie, and I see it pretty rarely. Like, he thought he had the chance. It's a
Yeah,
rookie mistake.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna play it off as. By the way, Christian Horner's a bitch, for turning in into a meme, essentially, saying we got Sonoda back in Mexico.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it was. It was a rookie mistake. He got a little over ambitious, and that's that. There's nothing more to it. He's a great driver. Considering what happened to Yuki in that race, I think he finished maybe just outside the points, like 11th, 12th. And so, he's still got pace. He's still a good driver, but he's just making these rookie mistakes. And hopefully going into next season, he kind of learns from these and doesn't make them so often. And I don't have to keep defending him to keep his seat.
Yeah, patience will work out in the long run for him. I think that he's got a good teammate. He's in a good car. They're solid middle of the pack potentially, especially with the changes coming up. It could be. I have a feeling he's going to have a better year than Russell, but that's only because I like Yuki.
Yeah.
People say he's reckless. He's not that reckless. He
Yeah.
doesn't. Of course, everybody makes mistakes during a race. If Hamilton did that and somebody hit him, there'd be so many people being like, "What? That was Hamilton's line. Hamilton was going way faster."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Yuki was going faster and he cut the inside and there was no room for him and he probably shouldn't have shot the gap
Yeah.
because it closed off before he could get there.
Should Lance have maybe seen this AlphaTauri coming super fast and been like, "Oh man, I think this crazy motherfucker's about to cut in here"? Do you think he should have maybe given
No,
him space, or do you think he was
no.
within his right?
He was definitely within his rights. I mean, it's a race. They're all being extremely competitive. Let's say if you were playing Formula One on the computer, would you just give somebody space because you saw him like that? No, you'd cut the
No,
gap and make
no,
him
no.
work for it.
I close it all the time.
You close it even when you are going. Anyway, that's a bad example, but no, I mean it's a race.
Yeah.
You shouldn't just give it up unless you're blue flagged, and a mistake was made. That's as plain and simple as it can be.
And speaking of being in the race spirit, how do you feel about people getting overtaken by safety cars or virtual safety cars? Because that happened to Perez with Bottas.
Yeah, that was weird. There was a real safety car, and then there was the virtual safety car this race.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bottas got into the pits during the VSC and came out faster than Perez, and I was like, I don't know. It's part of the race. It's
Yeah.
part of the rules, and it's like it sucks to see. And Perez was so close. He was like 3 seconds behind Bottas for a long time.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah. Towards the
can't.
end of the race, right?
It's like yeah, just like Mexico. Perez just cannot overtake when he's so close. He'll get so close within like point 0.7, point 0.6 seconds. And I guess he either runs out of ERS or his tires get too hot and he just does not have the grip and the speed to overtake.
Yeah. He had a really shit luck because that was definitely going to be a podium for him before that happened. That was like a guaranteed podium because because Bottas got that such a bad start at the beginning.
Hmm.
I was like pretty excited because I was like, okay, well, Hamilton's clearly going to win this, but it's going to be a 2-3 on Red Bull. But yeah, that virtual safety car came out, and I was actually really surprised they didn't go along with Checo. They were worried about an undercut for Bottas, but that's what ended up screwing him because I think by that point, Perez had just pitted before that virtual safety car came out. And he was, obviously now Bottas has fresher tires and he's in that insane rocket as well. There was just no chance after that.
I mean, it happens. It happened to Hamilton like twice last year where he was going into the pits and a virtual safety car came out. So he was like sitting pretty in first, no worries, with fresh tires. It's like, it happens. It's part of the race. It's part of the strategy. Sometimes you can't predict it. Sometimes you get lucky. I'm not upset about it, but it sucks. It's one of the things that's just like, meh. It sucks. Sometimes I just want him to race. Like I get it, you have to clean up the little piece of carbon fiber so nobody punctures a tire, but it's always it's always disappointing to see Perez run a really good race and still miss out on podium.
Yeah.
Because he's been, I mean, past 3, 4 weeks, he has really been showing like why he's getting signed again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And immediately after they said they were going to re-sign him, he had like 2 really bad races in a row. But this one, I mean, he's had good, decent qualifying. I wouldn't say amazing, but decent qualifying and really
Top
good
four.
race pace. Yeah.
Yeah. Top
No,
four,
I mean
which is where
he's
he should be,
yeah.
at least.
It's not like an Alex Albon situation where he gets third one race and then gets like 12th the next. You know, he's been showing consistency, and if I think he finishes out the year like second, third, fourth in that range, he's going to do just fine.
Yeah. I hope he's able to overcome Bottas, but honestly, Bottas is looking incredibly strong towards the end of this. And that engine power, even though Mercedes says it's not going to last very long, I think they're sandbagging on that. I think they know
Yeah,
it's going to last enough.
I don't ever listen to what Mercedes says. They're like, yeah, our tires suck, our wings sucks, our engine sucks. It's not going to last. And
First place.
they kill it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just glad Perez got fastest lap at the end there with the
Yeah.
1:11.0. Super fast lap.
Yeah.
Super fast. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I know Helmut Marko, which is the advisor for the Red Bull program, he was actually saying that if Mercedes and Hamilton can keep up this pace, championship's over. It's Mercedes going to win it, and I
Oh
totally
yeah,
agree.
yeah. I mean, you can't keep this guy down, especially if he keeps the same speed and has no penalties for Qatar. It's gonna be insane. He finished the race 10 seconds ahead of Verstappen, and he only overtook him at lap 52. So
Yeah.
if he has the whole race being first, I mean, 30, 40 seconds maybe.
Yeah, he's gone after that.
Yeah, Mercedes does this though. End of the year, or even whenever they feel like it, they'll just have so much speed, so much power going through that engine. And I don't know how they're going to stop it. I don't know. I'm sure the engineers are working overtime trying to see how they can figure it out. Because I think Verstappen could take the same strategy. He's that good of a driver.
Yeah.
Or if he needs to take an engine penalty and start back the grid, but just fly through the. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This last Brazil race made everything really interesting.
Yeah, and probably the most interesting bit was when, Verstappen or Hamilton was chasing Verstappen and he ran him wide on that turn. I think that's basically what he did. He could have definitely turned in a little more. I think it should have at least required an investigation. But I don't know. I'm kind of on both sides. I'm like, well, to be consistent with what's been going on this season, that was definitely at least a 5-second penalty. But at the same time, I think we've been complaining of the fact that it's like, okay, we'll just let the people race. If they're both going to go wide, then they're both going to go wide.
Yeah, get off your fucking bandwagon. As soon as I heard you say that, I almost threw up in my mouth, dude. I watched both onboard cameras. They both went wide. They both
Exactly.
came into that turn too fast. Like, Verstappen, in my mind, didn't do anything wrong. They're going to continue to complain about it, even though the FIA won't do anything.
Well,
'Cause
so
it was a
actually, I'm
good
going to
race.
correct you there. The stewards have summoned Mercedes tomorrow for a right to review hearing. So this is going to be them presenting. This is why we should look into the incident
Yeah, but they
more.
don't speak Portuguese. All those stewards are from Brazil. They don't understand what's going on.
It's so funny hearing Michael Massey on the race. Like he just sounds like he's just so done with all these damn teams. Like he just wants the season to end.
Yeah. Hey, you
Um,
can't. Can they do that? Because they just did that. Can I do that?
yeah. And just to be clear, we can run people off the track. So
No, no, you can't.
we'll see. We'll see what happens because apparently, if they are, I don't know if they're able to do this, but if they are able to somehow like add a penalty onto Verstappen, Bottas was within 5 seconds of him. So if he gets a 5 second penalty, that means he's gonna finish in third, which will have huge implications for the championship. I don't think it's gonna go that far though.
Shit, you never know. You really do never know. I mean, it would be pretty late to put a 10-second penalty on him, but I don't think it deserved a penalty. I think they both ran it wide. They were both chasing each other down as hard as they could, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just kind of how it goes. Like I was reading an article, I don't remember where it was from, but it was like, what would fix that solution? Or what would be the solution for that? Just add gravel traps everywhere.
Yeah, that was signs that said that.
Yeah, just add gravel traps at the end. It's like they'll go wide right into the gravel and they'll both spin out.
Yep. Get stuck and they're both
Yeah.
done. And Max Verstappen leads
I mean,
the championship.
it would reduce the amount of people trying to go crazy fast in that turn.
Yeah, for sure.
But it also, I think it adds a lot of danger because once gravel gets onto the track, that makes that track really slick and they lose a ton of traction. So trying to take that turn 130, 140 miles an hour, and then you pick up some gravel from somebody else, your car's sliding.
Yeah.
That's just dangerous.
Yeah. And that's not what we're about here at Formula Relapse. We want clean, safe races. We don't
I
want
mean, I not clean, but I don't want to see another car burst into flames. And
split
then
in
everybody's
half.
like, okay, it's time to race again. That guy almost died.
Well, the Brazilian GP was extremely awesome. I'm really excited for these next few races because I think it's going to be. I think we're going to have the same caliber, even if maybe they're not the most interesting tracks. There's going to be a lot of action in regards to the championship for, first, third place between Ferrari, McLaren, and I know Alpine and I'm not going to say AlphaTauri, but I'm going to just say Alpine and Gasly are fighting for a position because Gasly's had most of the points this season.
Yeah.
So it'll be a really good ending to the season.
And I've only really been closely following F1 for like 2, 3 years now, so I've only seen like the Hamilton dominance. But this is by far from everything that I've seen and read and past Formula One championships, this is going to be the most eventful and closest coming down to the final few races. And I'm excited to watch it. This makes me want to wake up at 7 a.m. and actually watch the race.
Yeah. I saw the finale. The last race of the season is going to be at 8 a.m., which not too excited about that one.
That's okay. I'll be there.
And we hope you'll be here for our next episode. We're gonna be catching up on some of the uploads that we missed. So stay tuned and be on the lookout for anything we've got coming out. Appreciate it.